Tonight, we're going to wander slowly into a forest after sunset when the daylight has faded and the trees begin to soften into shadow. There is nothing you need to remember and nowhere you need to arrive. You can simply listen as the quiet forest opens around you. Imagine a narrow path beneath tall branches, with cool air resting gently against your skin. The ground is dark, soft, and covered with leaves that have been settling there for many seasons. As the last light disappears, a forest does not truly become silent. Instead, it changes its voice. Daytime birds grow quiet, while insects, frogs, owls, and small mammals begin their evening routines. The forest becomes a different world, guided more by sound, scent, and touch than by sight. Many forest animals are crepuscular, meaning they are most active around dusk and dawn. These gentle hours offer cooler temperatures and softer light. For some animals, twilight also provides protection. It becomes harder for predators to see clearly, while there is still enough light to move through familiar paths. As darkness deepens, the temperature beneath the trees often falls more slowly than it does in open fields. The canopy and the layers of plants below it help hold warmth close to the ground. Leaves, branches, and moist soil all soften the change between day and night. A forest creates its own small climate. Scientists sometimes call this a microclimate, because conditions beneath the trees can differ from the surrounding landscape. At night, the sheltered air may feel cooler, damper, and calmer. Wind weakens between the trunks, and moisture gathers quietly on leaves. You can let the facts drift past you now. There is no need to hold on to every detail. When darkness arrives, trees continue living in ways that are mostly invisible to us. Their leaves still exchange gases with the air, though photosynthesis slows or stops without sunlight. Respiration continues, allowing cells to release energy stored during the day. Trees do not sleep in the way humans do, but many follow daily biological rhythms. Their leaves, cells, and chemical processes respond to cycles of light and darkness. These rhythms help trees manage water, growth, and energy. Some trees subtly change the position of their branches during the night. Researchers using laser scanning have observed small downward movements in certain species after sunset. Before morning, the branches may slowly rise again. The movement is slight and cannot usually be seen with the naked eye. It may be connected to changes in water pressure inside the tree or to natural day and night rhythms. The exact reasons are still being studied. Beneath the ground, roots continue their quiet work. They absorb water and minerals from tiny spaces in the soil. They also interact with fungi, bacteria, and other organisms living around them. Forests are not simply collections of separate trees. Under the soil, many roots are connected indirectly through networks of fungi. These fungi form delicate threads that extend far beyond the roots themselves. This partnership is known as a mycorrhizal relationship. The fungi receive sugars produced by the tree, while the tree gains better access to water and nutrients. It is an ancient exchange that has existed for hundreds of millions of years. At night, this underground world remains active. Fungal threads continue transporting resources through the soil, while microscopic organisms break down fallen leaves and fragments of wood. The forest floor may look still, but it is slowly being transformed. Dead leaves soften, darken, and become part of the soil. Nutrients return to the roots. and the remains of one season quietly support the next. There is something peaceful about this slow recycling. Nothing's hurried. A fallen leaf may take months or years to disappear, depending on temperature, moisture, and the kind of leaf it is. In cool forests, decomposition can be especially slow. In warm, wet forests, fungi and bacteria work more quickly. Even then, the process remains gentle and nearly invisible. If your eyes feel heavy, you can let them close. The forest will continue moving softly in the background. In many forests, the first sounds of night come from insects. Crickets produce their familiar calls by rubbing parts of their wings together. This process is called stridulation. The sound is often made by males hoping to attract a mate. Temperature can affect the speed of cricket calls. On warmer nights, some species chirp more quickly because their bodies and muscles are more active. Other insects create soft clicks, hums, and pulses. Some sounds travel only a short distance. Others move surprisingly far through the cool night air. Sound behaves differently after sunset. As the ground cools, layers of air can bend sound waves back toward the surface. This sometimes allows distant calls to travel farther than they would during the day. That may be why an owl can seem both close and far away at the same time. Its call moves between trunks, across clearings, and through layers of leaves. The shape of the forest changes the sound as it travels. Owls are well adapted to this dim world. Their large eyes collect more light than human eyes, helping them detect movement in darkness. Their vision is sensitive, though they cannot move their eyes freely inside their sockets. Instead, an owl turns its head. Extra neck vertebrae and specialized blood vessels allow many owls to rotate their heads much farther than humans can without cutting off circulation. Their hearing may be even more important than their sight. Some owl species have ear openings placed at slightly different heights. This helps them locate a sound both horizontally and vertically. A small movement beneath leaves can create enough sound for an owl to notice. The owl listens for tiny differences in when the sound reaches each ear. Its brain uses those differences to estimate where the sound began. Even its feathers are adapted for silence. The leading edges of an owl's flight feathers have fine comb-like structures. These break up the flow of air and reduce the noise of flight. Soft feather surfaces absorb additional sound. This allows an owl to approach quietly, but it may also help the owl hear more clearly while moving through the air. Far below, a mouse may pause beneath ferns or fallen branches. Many small mammals rely on scent trails and memory to travel at night. Their whiskers help them sense nearby objects when light is limited. A mouse's whiskers are deeply connected to nerves. When they brush against bark, stone, or leaves, they provide detailed information about distance, texture, and shape. The forest at night is filled with ways of seeing that do not require eyes. Bats use echoes. Moths sense chemicals in the air. Spiders feel vibrations moving through threads and leaves. Each animal experiences a slightly different forest. For a human walking beneath the trees, darkness may hide the path. For a bat, the same space can be mapped through returning sound. Many bats produce calls too high for human ears to hear. The calls bounce from branches, insects, and the ground. By listening to the echoes, the bat can estimate distance, direction, size, and movement. This ability is called echolocation. The bat's brain processes these echoes with remarkable speed, creating a detailed sense of the space ahead. Some moths can hear the ultrasonic calls of hunting bats. When they detect danger, they may change direction, dive toward the ground, or stop flying completely. A few moth species can even produce ultrasonic sounds of their own. These sounds may confuse bats or warn them that the moth is unpleasant to eat. The quiet forest contains conversations beyond the range of human hearing. There is no need to follow every hidden signal. You can imagine them fading gently into the darkness, like ripples spreading across still water. As night settles fully, moisture often gathers on the forest floor. The air cools, and water vapor may condense into tiny droplets. These droplets rest on grass, moss, spiderwebs, and the edges of leaves. Moss can absorb water across much of its surface. Unlike taller plants, moss does not have the same complex system of roots and vessels. It stays close to the ground, where humidity is often higher. At night, a bed of moss may hold a surprising amount of moisture. Its small leaves and dense growth create sheltered spaces where water evaporates slowly. Ferns also benefit from the damp forest air. Their thin leaves can lose water easily, so shaded and humid places offer protection. Many ferns thrive beside streams, beneath cliffs, or under thick canopies. Some fern species have existed in forms similar to their modern relatives for millions of years. They were growing on Earth long before flowering plants became common. At night, their curved fronds seem almost unchanged by time. The forest does not need to explain its age. It simply stands around you layer after layer, with young leaves resting beneath ancient patterns of growth. High above, the canopy blocks much of the starlight. Only a few bright points may appear between branches. As the trees move gently in the wind, the stars seem to appear and disappear. In a clearing, the sky becomes wider. The darkness above may feel deeper than it does in a city, because there's less artificial light scattered through the atmosphere. Natural darkness is important for forest life. Artificial light can alter feeding, migration, mating, and sleep patterns in many animals. Even a small amount of nighttime lighting can change the behavior of insects. Some insects are strongly attracted to lamps. They may circle the light because their navigation systems evolved to use distant natural sources, such as the moon or bright sky. A nearby lamp is different from the moon. Because it is close, the angle changes constantly as the insect moves. The insect may keep adjusting its direction and become trapped in a circle. In a truly dark forest, these ancient navigation systems work more naturally. The moon remains distant, the stars remain steady, and the night belongs to the creatures adapted to it. For now, the path continues beneath the trees. So, the air is cool, the branches are still, and somewhere beyond the next bend, another quiet part of the forest is waiting. Deeper in the forest, the path becomes softer beneath your feet. Pine needles, fallen leaves, and pieces of bark create a quiet surface that absorbs each step. Even movement begins to sound distant. The forest floor is made of many layers. Fresh leaves rest on top, while older material beneath them becomes darker and more fragile. Lower still, tiny organisms turn the remains into rich soil. This upper layer of fallen material is often called leaf litter. It provides shelter for beetles, worms, millipedes, spiders, and countless microscopic forms of life. Some animals spend nearly their entire lives inside this narrow world. To them, a curled leaf may be a roof, a valley, or a place to hide from the dry air above. Earthworms move slowly through damp soil. As they feed on decaying material, they mix the soil and create small channels. These channels allow water and air to move more easily underground. Not every forest contains the same kinds of earthworms. Some northern forests developed without native earthworms after the last ice age. In those places, introduced species can change the leaf litter surprisingly quickly. Still, in many woodlands, worms are part of the quiet process that reshapes the ground. Their work happens without light, beneath roots and stones, through long hours of darkness. Nearby, a fallen log may seem lifeless. In reality, it can support fungi, insects, mosses, seedlings, and small animals for many years. As the wood softens, it holds water like a sponge. This moisture creates a stable shelter during dry weather. It also helps young plants survive when the surrounding soil becomes warm. Fallen trees are sometimes called nurse logs. A seed landing on one may grow above the crowded forest floor, with access to moisture and slowly released nutrients. The old tree gradually becomes part of the new one. Its wood breaks down, while roots grow through it and eventually reach the soil below. Nothing in the forest changes all at once. A trunk may stand for decades, fall during one storm, and then take many more years to disappear. Fungi are among the main organisms responsible for breaking down wood. They release enzymes that separate complex plant material into simpler substances they can absorb. Some fungi specialize in lignin, the strong material that gives wood much of its structure. Without these fungi, fallen trees would remain in forests far longer, and nutrients would return to the soil much more slowly. At night, the visible parts of fungi may appear as mushrooms. A mushroom is only the reproductive structure of a much larger organism. Most of the fungus remains hidden as fine threads inside soil or wood. These threads are known as hyphae. Together they form a network called mycelium, which may spread through a log, beneath leaves, or across a wide area underground. Some fungal networks can live for centuries. A single organism may cover an area larger than it first appears, even when only a few mushrooms rise above the surface. Mushrooms often release spores into the air. Some release millions at a time, though only a very small number will find the right place to grow. Air currents carry the spores between trees. Rain may lift them from the ground, and animals may carry them on fur, feathers, or feet. There is no need to remember these hidden movements. You can let them pass quietly, like dust drifting through a beam of moonlight. Some mushrooms seem to glow in darkness. This natural light is called bioluminescence, and it comes from a chemical reaction inside the fungus. The glow is usually greenish and very faint. It may attract insects that help spread spores, though scientists are still studying why different fungi produce light. Bioluminescent fungi are sometimes called foxfire. On a dark enough night, decaying wood may hold a soft green glow, almost too dim to notice at first. The light does not create heat. It is a cool chemical light, produced with remarkable efficiency inside living tissue. Other organisms in the forest can glow as well. Fireflies use chemical reactions to create flashes in their abdomens, often as signals during courtship. Each species may add its own pattern. The timing duration and rhythm of the flashes help fireflies recognize suitable partners. Some females respond from grass or low branches. A male flying above may notice the reply and move slowly toward it through the darkness. Firefly light is also a warning. Many fireflies contain chemicals that make them unpleasant to predators, so their glow can signal that they are not good to eat. The display may seem peaceful to human eyes. For the fireflies, it carries information, identity, and the possibility of finding one another. In some forests, thousands may flash together. Certain species can synchronize their signals, creating waves of light that move through trees and vegetation. The exact mechanisms are still studied. Each insect responds to those nearby, and large groups gradually begin flashing in shared rhythms. For a few quiet moments, an entire forest edge can appear to breathe with light. Then the darkness returns between the pulses. Farther along, a stream moves beneath overhanging branches. At night, flowing water often sounds louder because the rest of the landscape has become quieter. The water itself may also cool slowly after sunset. Streams shaded by forests usually remain cooler than water exposed to direct sunlight throughout the day. Cool water can hold more dissolved oxygen than warm water. This is important for fish, aquatic insects, salamanders, and many other organisms living beneath the surface. Leaves falling into a stream become food for the aquatic community. Insects and microorganisms soften and break them apart, while small animals feed on the fragments. Some aquatic insects begin life underwater. Mayflies, stoneflies, and dragonflies may spend months or years as immature forms before emerging into the air. Their underwater stages are often called nymphs. They hide beneath stones, among roots, or inside layers of gravel where the current is gentler. At night, some become more active. Darkness can offer protection from visual predators, allowing them to feed or move with less risk. Salamanders also favor cool, damp conditions. Many species have smooth skin that must remain moist because part of their breathing happens directly through it. They often hide during hot or dry periods. After rain or during humid nights, they may travel across the forest floor in search of food or shelter. Some woodland salamanders have no lungs at all. They exchange oxygen through their skin and the tissues inside their mouths. This makes clean, moist habitats especially important. A dry environment can make breathing more difficult, so fallen logs, stones, and deep leaf litter provide essential protection. Frogs may call from ponds or slow water nearby. Their voices can travel through the night in repeated notes, each species producing a recognizable pattern. The sound begins when air moves across the vocal cords. Many frogs expand a vocal sac beneath the throat, which amplifies the call like a small resonating chamber. Humidity can help frogs remain active. Their skin loses water easily, so the cool air of evening offers better conditions than the heat of midday. Some tree frogs rest on leaves above the ground. Specialized toe pads allow them to cling to smooth surfaces, even when the leaves are wet. These pads do not work like simple suction cups. They use a combination of moisture, surface tension, and tiny structures that increase contact with the leaf. A frog may remain nearly motionless for long periods. Then, with one small movement, it catches an insect passing close by. Spiders are also active hunters in the night forest. Some wait in webs, while others move across bark or leaves without building traps. Orb. Weaving spiders often rebuild damaged parts of their webs. Many species consume old silk and recycle its proteins before producing fresh threads. Spider silk is light, flexible, and strong for its weight. Different glands produce different kinds of silk for frames, sticky spirals, egg cases, and safety lines. At night, dew may collect along a web. Each droplet reflects a small amount of moonlight, making the hidden structure briefly visible. The spider senses motion through vibration. It can often tell the difference between wind, falling debris, and the movements of potential prey. Webs are not placed randomly. A spider may choose a gap where insects are likely to pass, such as between branches or across a narrow opening. In the morning, some webs will remain. Others will disappear completely, taken down and rebuilt somewhere new. You can let the story move on without following every thread. The forest holds all of these small lives, without asking you to keep track of them. Above the stream, the leaves form dark overlapping shapes. Some leaves turn slightly during the night as water pressure changes inside their cells. Plants control the opening and closing of tiny pores called stomata. These pores allow carbon dioxide, oxygen, and water vapor to move between the leaf and the air. Many plants close most of their stomata at night. Without sunlight for photosynthesis, reducing these openings can help conserve water. Some plants behave differently. Species adapted to dry environments may open their stomata at night, when temperatures are lower and moisture loss is reduced. This strategy is known as CAM photosynthesis. It is more common in desert plants, but it also appears in some forest plants such as orchids and bromeliads. High in tropical forests, many orchids grow on tree branches. They are not parasites and do not usually take food from the tree. They simply use the branches as places to reach light and collect moisture. These plants are called epiphytes. Their roots may absorb water directly from humid air, rain, and organic material trapped in bark. Bromeliads can form small pools between their leaves. These pools provide water for insects, frogs, and microscopic organisms far above the forest floor. A single plant can become a tiny habitat. In a rainforest canopy, thousands of such habitats may exist at different heights. The canopy is not one smooth roof. It contains layers, openings, towers, vines, and branches that create many separate environments. Temperatures and humidity can change over only a few meters. One branch may be exposed to wind and moonlight, while another remains enclosed in warm, damp shadow. In temperate forests, the canopy also shapes nighttime conditions. Leaves slow the loss of heat from the ground and reduce the amount of open sky visible below. On clear nights, open fields can cool rapidly. The forest usually changes more gently, protected by its own structure. This stability is useful for many animals. Small changes in temperature can affect insects, plants, and amphibians, so the sheltered interior becomes a refuge. The moon is higher now, though it remains partly hidden. Its light touches the stream, the edges of leaves, and the pale surface of a fallen branch. The rest of the forest stays soft and indistinct. There is no need to see everything clearly. For now, the sound of water is enough, and the path continues quietly beside it. The stream gradually narrows as the path rises between darker trees. Its sound becomes softer, until only an occasional trickle can be heard beneath roots and stones. In many forests, water continues moving even when no stream is visible. Rain sinks into the ground, travels through layers of soil, and follows hidden channels shaped by rock and roots. Some of this water returns to the surface as springs. A spring may begin as only a quiet seep, where damp earth slowly gathers into a shallow pool. Forests help protect these underground water systems. Roots hold soil in place, while fallen leaves slow the movement of rain across the surface. When water moves more slowly, more of it can enter the ground. This reduces erosion and helps refill the layers of soil and rock that store groundwater. Tree roots do not usually reach deep underground rivers. Most spread through the upper soil, where oxygen and nutrients are more available. Even large trees often depend on wide root systems rather than extremely deep ones. The roots may extend far beyond the edge of the canopy, searching quietly through the soil. Fine roots are especially important. They are thin, delicate, and often short-lived, but they absorb much of the water and minerals a tree needs. These roots are constantly being replaced. As older roots die, they become food for fungi and microscopic organisms, adding more organic material to the soil. A forest is always growing and dissolving at the same time. New cells form in leaves and roots, while older material becomes part of the ground. You do not need to follow every part of this cycle. It can continue beneath you, steady and unseen. As the path leaves the stream, the air becomes slightly drier. The scent of wet stone fades, replaced by bark, pine resin, and leaves warmed earlier by the day. Much of a forest scent comes from volatile organic compounds. These are tiny molecules released by plants, fungi, soil, and decaying material. Conifer trees release compounds called terpenes. They help create the familiar scent of pine, fir, and cedar, especially after rain or during warm weather. Plants produce these chemicals for many reasons. Some discourage insects, some attract pollinators, and others may help protect damaged tissue. The same chemicals can drift between trees. In certain situations, nearby plants may respond when they detect compounds released by leaves under attack. This does not mean trees communicate like humans. It is a chemical response shaped by evolution, but it still allows information to move through the forest air. The process is quiet and diffuse. A damaged leaf releases molecules, the breeze carries them, and another plant changes its chemistry in response. At night, cooler air can hold these scents close to the ground. The forest may smell stronger because wind is weaker and the air mixes more slowly. Humidity also changes the way scents travel. Moist air can make some smells feel fuller or more noticeable, especially near soil and vegetation. Animals experience this scented landscape with far greater sensitivity than humans. A fox can follow traces left on bark, grass, and stones long after another animal has passed. Deer also rely heavily on smell. They use scent to identify danger, recognize other deer, and understand what has recently moved through an area. Their large ears help them collect another layer of information. Each ear can rotate independently, allowing the deer to listen in more than one direction. A deer standing still may not be resting. It may be building a careful picture of the darkness through sound and scent. Many deer are most active around twilight. As night deepens, they may move into open areas to feed, then return to cover before daylight becomes strong. Their eyes are adapted to low light. A reflective layer behind the retina helps light pass through the light-sensitive cells more than once. This layer is called the tapetum lucidum. It is also responsible for the bright eye shine sometimes seen when light reaches an animal at night. Humans do not have this reflective layer. Our night vision is less sensitive, but our eyes can gradually adjust to darkness. This adjustment takes time. The pupils widen quickly, while chemical changes inside the retina continue for many minutes. Rods are the cells most responsible for low light vision. They are highly sensitive, though they do not provide detailed color information. This is why nighttime scenes often appear gray, blue, or nearly colorless. The colors are still present. Our eyes simply cannot detect them as easily when the light is faint. Some animals see a different range of colors than humans. Certain insects can detect ultraviolet light, while many mammals have a more limited color range. Night vision is not one single ability. Each species has a different balance of sensitivity, sharpness, color, and motion detection. A frog may notice a small moving insect more easily than a still leaf. An owl may locate prey through sound even when vision is uncertain. A moth may follow a faint chemical trail across a space that seems empty to us. The night forest is shaped by the senses of those living inside it. What appears dark to one creature may be full of detail to another. If the darkness feels deep, you can let it remain gentle. There is no need to see beyond the next few trees. Between the trunks, a pale shape moves slowly. It may be mist forming, where cool air settles near the ground. Mist develops when air becomes cool enough for water vapor to condense into tiny suspended droplets. Low areas often collect colder air. Because cool air is denser, it can move downhill and gather in hollows, valleys, and beside water. This can create small pockets of fog inside a forest. One clearing may be covered in mist, while higher ground remains clear. The droplets scatter moonlight, branches become faint silhouettes, and distances seem softer than they really are. Fog also changes sound. Tiny droplets and layers of cool air can alter the way sound travels, making some noises seem muted and others strangely close. Moisture gathers on spiderwebs and fine hairs. A single web may collect dozens of droplets, each one held in place by the silk. Plants can also capture water from fog. In some cloud forests, leaves and branches collect moisture directly from passing clouds. Droplets combine and fall to the ground. This process, sometimes called fog interception, can provide an important source of water. Cloud forests often exist on mountain slopes. Moist air rises, cools, and forms clouds around the vegetation. These forests are usually damp, mossy, and filled with plants growing on other plants. Branches may be covered in lichens. Lichens are partnerships between fungi and photosynthetic organisms, usually algae or cyanobacteria. The fungus provides structure and protection. The photosynthetic partner produces sugars using light. Together, they can live on bark, stone, soil, and other surfaces where neither partner would thrive as easily alone. Lichens grow slowly, some at only a tiny amount each year, especially in cold or harsh environments. They do not have roots. Instead, they absorb water and nutrients across their surfaces. When conditions become dry, many lichens become inactive. After moisture returns, their metabolism begins again. This ability allows them to survive long periods without rain. Lichens can also be sensitive to air pollution. Because they absorb substances directly from the atmosphere, some species disappear when air quality declines. Their presence can offer clues about the condition of the environment. Mosses behave in a similar way. They can dry out, become quiet, and then resume activity after absorbing water. A patch of moss may look fragile, yet some mosses survive cold, drought, and long periods of dormancy with remarkable patience. On a damp night, mosses swell with water. Their color deepens, and their soft surfaces create tiny shelters for mites, springtails, and microscopic animals. Some of these animals are smaller than a grain of sand. They move through films of water around leaves and soil particles. Tardigrades may also live in moss. These microscopic animals are sometimes called water bears because of their rounded bodies and slow movements. When water disappears, some tardigrades can enter a nearly inactive state. Their bodies contract, and their metabolism falls to an extremely low level. When moisture returns, they may become active again. This does not make them indestructible. It simply gives certain species an unusual ability to survive difficult conditions. The smallest parts of the forest can contain extraordinary lives. A handful of moss may hold animals, fungi, algae, bacteria, and countless interactions too small to see. There is no need to imagine all of them clearly. They can remain hidden inside the softness of the green. Far above the moss, a breeze reaches the canopy. The highest leaves move first, followed by a slow wave through the branches below. Trees respond to wind throughout their lives. Repeated movement can influence the way trunks and branches grow, helping them become stronger in their usual environment. This response is sometimes called stigmomorphogenesis. A tree exposed to regular wind may grow differently from one sheltered deep inside a forest. It may remain shorter, develop a thicker trunk, or adjust the direction of its branches. Trees also flex rather than remaining completely rigid. Their wood contains structures that provide strength while allowing controlled movement. During strong winds, branches bend and twist. This flexibility can reduce the force placed on the trunk. Leaves may also turn or fold, presenting a smaller surface to the moving air. Some trees shed branches during storms. Although this can look destructive, losing part of the crown may reduce the chance of the entire tree falling. At night, the wind is gentle. It touches the canopy, passes through the upper branches, and reaches the path as only a cool movement of air. The mist begins to thin. Shapes become clearer again, and the forest opens into a quiet stand of older trees. Their trunks are wide, their bark is deeply folded, and their crowns disappear into darkness. Some have been standing here for longer than any person has been alive. They have passed through thousands of nights, each one different, each one leaving almost no visible trace. For now, you can rest beneath them. The path can wait, and the forest can continue quietly around you. The older trees stand farther apart, leaving small openings where moonlight reaches the ground. Their shadows stretch across roots and stones, changing slowly as the moon moves through the sky. Moonlight is reflected sunlight. The moon produces no visible light of its own, but its pale surface sends a small portion of sunlight back toward Earth. Even a full moon is much dimmer than daylight. Still, its light can influence the behavior of animals throughout the forest. Some nocturnal animals become less active on bright nights. Moving through open spaces may be more dangerous when predators can see clearly. Other animals use moonlight to travel. Certain insects, birds, and mammals may adjust their movement according to the brightness of the night. The lunar cycle changes gradually. From one night to the next, the moon rises at a different time and presents a different illuminated shape. The forest responds in subtle ways. Feeding patterns, mating behavior, and the timing of movement can all shift with the phases of the moon. For human eyes, moonlight creates a world of gentle contrasts. Silver leaves stand against dark branches, while the deepest shadows remain almost completely hidden. There is no need to understand every change in the light. You can simply notice the quiet brightness resting between the trees. On the trunk of an old oak, the bark forms deep ridges. Bark protects the living tissues beneath it from injury, insects, temperature changes, and water loss. The outer bark is mostly made of dead cells. As the tree grows wider, this protective layer cracks, flakes, and develops patterns unique to each species. Some trees have smooth bark when young. Others produce thick plates, peeling strips, or rough scales as they age. Bark can also protect trees from fire. Species that evolved in fire-prone landscapes may develop unusually thick outer layers that insulate the living trunk. Low fires do not always destroy a forest. In some ecosystems, they remove dense undergrowth, release nutrients, and help certain seeds begin growing. A few tree species depend on heat to open their cones. The scales remain sealed with resin until fire or high temperatures soften them. Afterward, seeds fall onto open ground where competition is reduced. Fire can be both destructive and renewing. Its effects depend on intensity, frequency, weather, and the history of the landscape. Tonight, there is no fire here. Only the faint smell of wood, damp leaves, and cool bark fills the air. Inside the trunk, thin layers of living tissue remain active. The cambium creates new wood toward the inside, and new inner bark toward the outside. Each growing season adds another layer. In many temperate trees, these layers form visible rings. A ring usually represents 1 year of growth, though its width can vary with rainfall, temperature, and competition. Wide rings often suggest favorable conditions. Narrow rings may record drought, cold, insect damage, or deep shade. Tree rings are natural records. Scientists study them to learn about past climates, fires, floods, and volcanic events. Some ring patterns can be matched across many trees. By comparing living trees with old timber and preserved logs, researchers can build timelines stretching back thousands of years. This science is called dendrochronology. It allows wood to carry information from seasons long before written records existed. The tree does not know that it is keeping a record. It simply grows when conditions allow, pauses when they do not, and leaves the pattern inside its trunk. There is something restful in that kind of memory. Nothing is written in words, yet each year remains quietly present. Old trees can also contain hollow spaces. Decay may remove part of the heartwood, while the outer living layers continue supporting the tree. A hollow trunk is not always a dead trunk. Many trees survive for decades with large empty spaces inside them. These hollows become shelters. Owls, squirrels, bats, insects, and small birds may use them for nesting or protection. The entrance can be very small. Inside, the space may widen into a dry chamber lined with old wood and soft material. Some cavities begin where branches broken. Fungi and moisture slowly enter the exposed area, and decay expands over many years. Woodpeckers also create cavities. Their strong beaks strike bark and wood with rapid, controlled movements. Specialized structures help protect their heads. Their skulls, muscles, tongues, and posture work together to manage the repeated impact. Woodpeckers do not peck only to find insects. They also create nesting holes and produce loud drumming sounds used for communication. A hollow trunk can amplify that drumming. The sound travels through the forest like a distant wooden echo. Other birds later use abandoned woodpecker holes. These species are called secondary cavity nesters because they depend on spaces created by decay or by other animals. Forests with old and dead trees often support more nesting opportunities. Standing dead trees are known as snags. They may look empty from a distance, but they provide perches, shelter, insects, and places to raise young. Dead wood is an important part of a healthy forest. When every fallen or standing dead tree is removed, many species lose the structures they depend upon. The forest needs both living growth and slow decay. One provides leaves, shade, and seeds. The other creates openings, shelter, nutrients, and food. You can let that balance remain simple. The old wood softens, and the new wood continues to grow. High in the cavity, a sleeping bird rests with its feathers slightly raised. Fluffed feathers trap a layer of warm air close to the body. Birds can control the position of their feathers using tiny muscles. During cold nights, This trapped air helps reduce heat loss. Some birds also tuck their beaks beneath shoulder feathers. Others stand on one leg and draw the other into their plumage. Small birds lose heat quickly because of their size. Many lower their body temperature slightly during sleep to conserve energy. A deeper temporary reduction is called torpor. Hummingbirds sometimes enter torpor at night, especially when temperatures are low or food is scarce. Their heart rate and metabolism slow dramatically. By morning, they warm themselves again and return to activity. Torpor is different from ordinary sleep. It is a controlled energy-saving state that helps some animals survive long hours without feeding. Bats may use a similar strategy. During cool periods, they reduce body temperature and slow their metabolism while resting. This allows stored energy to last longer. Not all bats spend the night flying. They alternate between feeding, resting, grooming, and social behavior. Some return to the same temporary roost several times before dawn. A tree hollow may hold only one bat. Another may shelter a group, clustered close together where the air is warmer. Bats groom their fur carefully. Clean fur helps with insulation and flight, and grooming may also remove parasites. Their wings need attention as well. A bat wing is a living membrane stretched across elongated finger bones. It contains blood vessels, nerves, muscles, and fine sensory hairs. These hairs may help bats detect changes in airflow. Flight is not guided by echoes alone. The whole body provides information about speed, movement, balance, and the surrounding air. When a bat changes direction, its flexible wings change shape. This allows precise turns between branches and leaves. The forest canopy may seem crowded. To a bat familiar with the space, it is a network of routes, openings, and feeding areas. Some bats eat insects. Others feed on fruit, nectar, fish, or small animals, depending on the species. Fruit-eating bats are important seed dispersers. They carry fruit away from parent trees and release seeds in new places. Nectar-feeding bats pollinate flowers that open after sunset. These flowers are often pale, strongly scented, and positioned where flying animals can reach them. Night-blooming plants use different signals from daytime flowers. Instead of relying mainly on bright colors, they may produce strong fragrances that travel through darkness. Some open for only one night. Their petals unfold after dusk, remain available for a few hours, and begin closing by morning. Moths can be important pollinators of these flowers. Their long mouthparts reach nectar held deep inside narrow floral tubes. As they feed, pollen attaches to their bodies. The next flower receives a small part of that pollen, allowing fertilization to occur. Pollination at night is easy to overlook, yet many forest plants depend on animals that work almost entirely in darkness. Beetles also visit flowers. Some are attracted by strong scents and feed on pollen, nectar, or parts of the flower itself. Pollination does not always look delicate. It can involve wings brushing petals, beetles crawling through pollen, and bats pressing their faces into blossoms. Still, the result is the beginning of seeds. Weeks or months later, fruit may form where the flower once opened. The whole process begins during a quiet meeting in the night. If your thoughts have wandered, there is no need to bring them back sharply. You can return only to the feeling of the forest, dark and calm around you. At the edge of the opening, a vine climbs toward the canopy. Climbing plants use trees for support, allowing them to reach light without building thick trunks of their own. Some vines twist around stems. Others use tendrils, hooks, or small adhesive structures to hold themselves in place. In tropical forests, woody vines are often called lianas that can connect distant trees and create hanging pathways used by animals. Vines also compete for light. A heavy growth can cover leaves and place extra weight on branches. The relationship is not always gentle, yet vines add complexity to the forest, creating shelter, flowers, fruit, and routes through the canopy. Climbing plants can sense contact. When a tendril touches a support, changes in growth cause it to curl around the object. This response is called digmotropism. The movement is slow. To human eyes, the plant seems still, but over hours it adjusts its shape and tightens its grip. Roots can also respond to touch, moisture, and gravity. They grow through spaces where conditions are favorable, changing direction around stones and dense soil. Plants do not move from place to place. Instead, they move by growing. A new root tip explores the soil. A new shoot bends toward light. A flower opens, and a tendril circles until it finds support. Most of these movements are too gradual to notice in real time. The forest appears motionless because its largest changes happen at another pace. Tonight, even that slow growth continues. Cells divide near root tips. Water moves through vessels, and new tissue forms in darkness. The moon has crossed another small part of the sky. Its light now rests on the opposite side of the trunks, while the clearing behind you grows dim. Ahead, the path returns beneath the canopy. The branches close gently overhead, and the forest becomes quiet and enclosed once more. Beneath the closed canopy, the darkness becomes softer rather than deeper. The trees seem to gather around the path, holding the cool night air between their trunks. A faint rustling comes from somewhere above. It may be a squirrel shifting in a nest, or a small bird adjusting its balance on a branch. Many animals choose sleeping places that protect them from wind and rain. A dense cluster of leaves can create a warmer pocket of air than an exposed branch. Tree squirrels often build nests from twigs, leaves, bark, and moss. These rounded nests are called drays, and they are usually placed high in the fork of a tree. The outer layers help block weather. Side, softer materials create a dry space where the animal can rest. Some squirrels use more than one nest. A familiar forest may contain several shelters used during different seasons or weather conditions. Others prefer hollow trees. A cavity can offer more protection from cold temperatures and nighttime predators. Sleeping does not always mean complete stillness. Animals wake briefly, change position, groom, or listen before settling again. Sleep patterns vary widely across species. Some animals sleep in one long period, while others rest in many shorter intervals. Prey animals often sleep lightly. Their senses remain partly alert, allowing them to respond quickly to unusual movement or sound. Some deer sleep for only short periods at a time. They may rest with their legs folded beneath them, then raise their heads to check the surrounding darkness. Many birds experience forms of sleep similar to those of mammals. They pass through different sleep stages, including periods associated with dreaming. Some birds can sleep with one half of the brain more deeply than the other. This is known as unihemispheric sleep. The eye connected to the more alert side of the brain may remain open. This allows the bird to rest while still noticing possible danger. The ability is especially useful in exposed places. Birds at the edge of a sleeping group may use it more than those protected in the middle. Forests provide many hidden sleeping spaces. Thick foliage, tangled vines, bark crevices, and low branches all create small shelters. Even a curled leaf can become a place of rest. Some insects fold leaves around themselves. Others attach to the underside, where they are protected from rain and less visible from above. Butterflies usually rest with their wings closed. Their patterns may resemble bark, dry leaves, or shadowed vegetation. Moths often remain active longer into the night. When they finally rest, their colors and textures help them disappear against trunks and stones. Camouflage is not only about color, body shape, posture, and stillness. All help an animal blend into the background. A stick insect becomes more convincing when it sways gently like a twig. A leaf insect may have edges that resemble damage, veins, or patches of decay. Some caterpillars look like small branches. Others resemble bird droppings, making them less appealing to predators. The forest contains many forms that imitate other forms. A living body can appear to be bark, moss, leaf litter, or part of a flower. These adaptations develop slowly across generations. Individuals that were harder to notice were more likely to survive and reproduce. Over time, resemblance became more detailed. The result can look almost intentional, though it is shaped by natural selection rather than planning. There is no need to examine every hidden shape. The darkness can keep its small secrets while you continue along the path. Near the ground, a pale moth rests on the side of a tree. Its wings are spread flat, matching the lichen-covered bark beneath them. Moths are sometimes described as dull compared with butterflies. In reality, many have subtle patterns that become beautiful when seen closely. Some have scales that reflect blue, green, silver, or bronze. The powdery surface of a moth's wing is made of thousands of tiny overlapping scales. These scales can create color through pigments or through microscopic structures that reflect light. Wing scales also help with temperature control. They may reduce water loss and can detach when caught in a spiderweb. Losing a few scales may help a moth escape. The wing remains usable even though part of its surface has been left behind. Some moths do not eat as adults. They live only on energy stored during the caterpillar stage. Their adult lives may last only a few days. During that time, they focus on finding a mate and laying eggs. Other moths feed on nectar, tree sap, fruit, or minerals. A few visit damp soil to absorb salts and nutrients. Caterpillars are often more specialized than adult moths. Many can eat only certain kinds of plants. This close relationship means the survival of a moth species may depend on the presence of particular trees or flowers. Plants defend themselves in many ways. Some produce bitter chemicals, toxins, thorns, or tough leaves. Others attract animals that help protect them. Certain trees provide food or shelter for ants. The ants patrol the branches and attack insects that feed on the leaves. The tree gains protection. The ants receive sugar-rich nectar or a place to live. Relationships like this are called mutualisms. When both partners benefit, forests are filled with them. Fungi help roots gather nutrients. Birds spread seeds. Insects pollinate flowers. Bacteria inside animals help digest food. No organism lives entirely alone. Even a single tree is surrounded by partnerships, competition, and exchange. Its bark holds lichens. Its leaves feed insects. Its flowers offer nectar. Its roots work beside fungi and bacteria. After death, the tree supports another community. Life continues through connection rather than isolation. You can let that thought become quiet. Nothing here needs to stand alone. A soft tapping begins farther into the trees. It is too slow for a woodpecker and too irregular to be falling rain. Perhaps an acorn is dropping from one branch to another. Oak trees produce acorns, which are fruits containing a single seed. The hard outer shell protects the young plant inside. Acorns are important food for many forest animals. Deer, mice, squirrels, jays, and insects all depend on them. Some years, oak trees produce very large numbers of acorns. These are called mast years. The trees in an area may release unusually heavy crops at roughly the same time. This can provide more food than animals are able to eat. The uneaten acorns have a better chance of surviving long enough to germinate. Scientists are still studying how trees coordinate these large crops. Weather, stored energy, and chemical signals may all play a role. Mast years can influence the whole forest. More acorns may lead to larger populations of mice and other small animals. Those changes can affect predators, parasites, and even the spread of disease. A single season of seeds can create effects that last for years. Squirrels help plant forests by burying food. They hide acorns in many separate places, then return later to recover them. Not every cache is found. Forgotten acorns may sprout and become young trees. Jays also carry acorns far from parent trees. A bird may transport several at once and bury them in soft ground. Seed dispersal helps trees move into new spaces. Without animals, many seeds would remain beneath the parent canopy, where competition is strong. Other trees use wind. Their seeds may have wings, hairs, or thin surfaces that allow them to drift through the air. Maple seeds spin as they fall. Their winged shape slows the descent and can carry them away from the parent tree. Birch seeds are small and light. They travel easily across open spaces. Some seeds depend on water. Others cling to fur or pass through an animal's digestive system. Fruits often use color, scent, and sweetness to attract animals. The animal eats the fruit and carries the seed elsewhere. The bright color is a signal. It tells a bird or mammal that the fruit is ripe and ready to be taken. At night, scent can become more important than color. Bats and other nocturnal animals may locate fruit by smell. Some tropical fruits have strong aromas that travel through the warm air. The animal feeds, then moves to another part of the forest. Seeds fall along the way. A new tree begins in a place its parent can never reach. The forest slowly shifts across generations. Trees spread, retreat, and return as climate and conditions change. Forest that seems permanent is always moving. Its movement is simply too slow for one night to reveal. If your thoughts feel lighter now, you can let them drift farther. The path will keep unfolding without asking anything from you. A low branch crosses the trail ahead. Its surface is covered in small patches of moss and lichen. Branches grow in response to light. Those reaching open spaces often expand more quickly than those shaded by neighboring leaves. Trees can also remove branches they no longer need. A shaded branch may receive too little light to support itself. Over time, the tree seals off the connection. The branch dies and eventually falls. This natural process is called self-pruning. It helps the tree direct energy toward more useful parts of the crown. Trees manage energy carefully. Leaves require water, nutrients, and maintenance. A leaf that receives little light may cost more than it produces. In autumn, many deciduous trees withdraw valuable materials from their leaves before they fall. Chlorophyll breaks down first. As the green fades, yellow and orange pigments become visible. Red colors may form in some leaves as sugars and light interact during cool weather. The exact shades depend on species, temperature, moisture, and sunlight. Even after the leaves fall, their usefulness continues. They protect the soil, hold moisture, and return nutrients as they decay. Evergreen trees follow a different rhythm. They keep many of their leaves through winter, though individual needles are still replaced over time. Pine needles are shaped to conserve water. Their narrow surface and waxy coating reduce moisture loss. They also tolerate cold better than broad, delicate leaves. Snow can slide between narrow needles more easily. Flexible branches bend beneath its weight. In warm forests, evergreen leaves may be broad and thick. Many have smooth surfaces that allow heavy rain to run off quickly. Some end in pointed tips. These drip tips help water leave the leaf rather than remaining on its surface. Too much standing water can encourage fungi or block gas exchange. Leaf shape reflects the conditions around it. Dry air, rain, wind, cold, insects, and light all leave their influence. A leaf is more than a flat green surface. It is a carefully balanced structure shaped by the life of the forest. Inside, veins carry water and sugars. Tiny cells collect light, pores open and close. Protective layers limit damage. Every leaf is temporary. It grows, works for a season or several years, and then becomes part of the soil. Above, the branch begins to move. A small animal crosses it quickly, pauses, and disappears into the canopy. The forest accepts the movement and becomes still again. Far away, an owl calls once. No answer follows. The sound fades between the trunks, leaving only the soft movement of leaves in the night air. Ahead, the path bends toward a lower part of the forest. The ground slopes gently downward, and the scent of water begins to return. The path descends gently until the ground becomes cool and damp beneath the leaves. A shallow woodland pond appears between the trees, holding a dim reflection of the night sky. Forest ponds are often small and temporary. Some fill with winter rain or melting snow, and slowly disappear during warmer months. These seasonal pools are sometimes called vernal pools. Because they may dry out, they often contain few or no fish. This creates safer breeding places for amphibians whose eggs and young might otherwise be eaten. Frogs and salamanders return to these pools when conditions are right. For some species, the journey begins on the first mild, rainy nights of the year. They move slowly across the forest floor. Moist air protects their skin, while darkness reduces the risk of drying and helps hide them from predators. Some return to the same breeding area year after year. They may navigate using scent, memory, the shape of the land, and the position of the sky. The pond does not need to be large. A shallow basin among the trees may support thousands of eggs and many generations of small forest animals. Frog eggs are usually surrounded by clear jelly. This soft layer holds moisture and offers some protection from damage. Inside, the embryos develop gradually. Small shapes form where there was once only a dark point inside each egg. When tadpoles emerge, many begin by feeding on algae and soft plant material. Their bodies are suited to water, with tails for swimming and gills for breathing. As they grow, their form changes. Legs appear, lungs develop, and the tail is slowly absorbed into the body. This transformation is called metamorphosis. It allows one animal to live first as an aquatic form and later as a creature of land and water. Salamanders follow their own varied patterns. Some have aquatic larvae, while others hatch as small versions of adults. A few remain in water throughout their lives. Others spend most of the year hidden beneath logs, stones, or deep layers of leaves. Amphibians are sensitive to changes in their environment. Their permeable skin allows water and gases to pass through, but it can also make them vulnerable to pollution and disease. For this reason, their presence can reveal something about the health of a forest. A pond filled with calling frogs may seem ordinary, yet it can be a sign that water, vegetation, and surrounding habitat are still supporting a delicate cycle. There is no need to listen for every voice. The calls can blend into one soft layer of sound around the water. Near the edge, tiny insects move across the surface. Water striders stand on long legs that spread their weight across the water without breaking through. The surface behaves almost like a thin, elastic skin. This effect comes from surface tension, created by the attraction between water molecules. Fine water. Repelling hairs cover the insect's legs. These hairs trap air and prevent the legs from becoming wet. With small rowing movements, the insect glides across the pond. It can sense vibrations traveling through the surface. A struggling insect, a falling leaf, or another water strider creates a different pattern. The pond becomes a field of moving signals. Even gentle rain writes temporary messages across the surface. Each drop forms rings that expand, overlap, and disappear. Beneath the surface, mosquito larvae may hang from the water film. Many breathe through small tubes that reach the air above. They feed on microscopic material suspended in the water. After several stages of growth, they become pupae and finally emerge as winged adults. Male mosquitoes usually feed on plant sugars. Females of many species also use nectar, though some require a blood meal to produce eggs. Mosquitoes are food for many forest animals: dragonflies, fish, spiders, bats, and birds. All consume them at different stages of life. Their place in the forest is more complicated than their familiar annoyance suggests. Dragonfly larvae are powerful underwater predators. They may remain beneath the pond for months or even years before becoming adults. Their lower jaw can extend rapidly to capture prey. When the larva is ready to transform, it climbs from the water onto a stem or branch. The adult dragonfly slowly emerges from the old skin. Its wings begin soft and folded. As fluid moves through their veins, they expand and harden in the air. The empty larval skin may remain attached to the plant. It is a quiet record of a life that has moved from water into flight. Adult dragonflies have large compound eyes. Each eye contains many visual units that together provide a wide view of the surroundings. They are especially sensitive to movement. Their four wings can move with some independence, allowing rapid turns, hovering, and precise changes of direction. At night, most dragonflies rest. They cling to grasses or branches until warmth and light return. Damselflies often rest with their wings folded closer to the body. Their shapes become narrow and easy to overlook among stems. Around the pond, reeds and grasses slow the wind. They also provide surfaces for eggs, insects, and small climbing animals. Some plants grow with their roots underwater and their leaves above the surface. Air spaces inside their stems help carry oxygen down towards submerged tissues. Wet soil contains less available oxygen than dry soil. Plants adapted to wetlands need special ways to keep their roots alive. Some trees produce shallow spreading roots. Others form raised structures that help exchange gases with the air. Bald cypress trees can grow woody projections from their roots. These structures are often called knees, though their exact functions are still studied. Mangrove trees use several kinds of specialized roots. Some rise above water or mud, where they can take in oxygen. Others arch outward and help support the tree in unstable ground. Mangroves grow along warm coastlines, rather than this quiet inland pond. Still, Their forests also belong to the night. Crabs move between roots. Fish shelter in shallow water. And bats visit flowers beneath tropical stars. Forests take many forms. Some grow in mountains, some in swamps, and some at the edges of the sea. A forest does not require one particular kind of tree. It is defined by relationships among climate, plants, soil, water, animals, and time. Boreal forests stretch across cold northern regions. They are dominated by conifers such as spruce, fir, pine, and larch. Winters are long, and growing seasons are short. At night, these forests may stand beneath auroras, snow, or months of pale summer twilight. Temperate forests experience stronger seasonal changes. Leaves open in spring, create deep shade in summer, fall in autumn, and leave bare branches through winter. Tropical forests remain warm through the year. Their seasons are often shaped more by rainfall than temperature. Even there, night can bring a small drop in warmth and a large change in activity. Cloud forests grow where mountain air remains moist. Dry forests endure long periods with little rain. Some trees drop their leaves during drought, rather than during cold weather. Each forest follows a rhythm shaped by its surroundings. There is no single forest night. Every landscape has its own darkness, sounds, temperatures, and hidden lives. You can let all those distant forests remain only faint images. For now, this small pond is enough. A thin layer of mist begins forming above the water. The pond loses heat to the clear night sky, cooling the air just above its surface. Water vapor condenses into droplets. They gather low over the pond, moving gently between stems. Mist can protect small areas from rapid temperature changes. It also increases humidity around leaves, skin, and insect bodies. The droplets may settle before dawn. Some will become dew on grass. Others will return directly to the pond. Dew does not fall from the sky in the same way as rain. It forms on surfaces that cool enough for water vapor to condense. Leaves can cool quickly on clear nights. When their temperature drops below the dew point, moisture appears along their edges and veins. The amount of dew depends on humidity, cloud cover, wind, and the ability of a surface to lose heat. A calm, clear night often encourages more dew. Clouds can reduce heat loss by sending some warmth back toward the ground. Wind mixes layers of air and may prevent surfaces from becoming cool enough. Tonight, the air is nearly still. Droplets gather slowly on leaves beside the pond. One becomes heavy and slides toward the tip. It remains there for a moment before falling into the dark water below. The sound is too small to hear. The rings are too faint to see for long. Still, the pond receives the drop and becomes smooth again. In the mud near the shore, tracks cross one another. A raccoon may have searched here earlier. Raccoons have sensitive front paws with many nerve endings. Water can soften the outer skin and may help them feel objects more clearly. Their familiar habit of handling food and water is not truly washing. It is more closely related to exploration through touch. Raccoons eat a wide variety of foods: fruit, nuts, insects, eggs, small animals, and aquatic life may all become part of their diet. This flexibility allows them to live in many environments. In forests, they often rest in tree cavities, hollow logs, or sheltered spaces among rocks. Their dark facial markings may reduce glare around the eyes. Similar markings appear in other animals that are active in low light. The bright rings around a raccoon's tail may help family members follow one another at night. Scientists cannot always assign one clear purpose to every pattern. Features can serve several roles or remain from earlier stages of evolution. Farther along the muddy edge, smaller prints appear. They may belong to a mouse, vole, or shrew. These animals can look similar from a distance, but their lives are quite different. Voles often have rounded bodies and shorter tails. Many feed on grasses, roots, bark, and seeds. Mice are usually more agile climbers. They may gather seeds, fruit, and insects from both the ground and low branches. Shrews are not rodents. They are small insect-eating mammals with pointed snouts and very fast metabolisms. Some shrews must feed frequently throughout the day and night. Their hearts beat rapidly, and their bodies lose heat quickly. A few species use simple forms of echolocation. Their faint clicks may help them understand nearby spaces, though they do not navigate with the precision of bats. Small mammals are essential to forest food webs. They consume plants, insects, fungi, and seeds. They also become food for owls, foxes, snakes, and other predators. Some spread fungal spores through their droppings. Truffles and other underground fungi depend on animals to find and eat them. The fungi produce strong scents when mature. A mammal digs into the soil, consumes the fruiting body, and later carries the spores elsewhere. Trees may then form new partnerships with the fungi. A small animal eating beneath the moon can influence the future roots of a distant tree. The connections are quiet, but they extend surprisingly far. You can let the pond sounds grow softer now. There's no need to stay awake for what happens next. At the base of a tree, a cluster of pale flowers has closed for the night. Some flowers close in darkness through movements called nyctinasty. Changes in light and internal biological rhythms affect water pressure inside specialized cells. The petals fold inward. This may protect pollen from moisture, cold air, or nighttime insects that do not help with pollination. Other flowers do the opposite. They remain closed during the day and open after sunset. Evening primrose releases a sweet scent as its petals unfold. Night-flying moths arrive to feed and carry pollen. Some night flowers are pale because light colors are easier to detect in darkness. Their scent may become strongest during the hours when their pollinators are active. A flower can keep time without seeing a clock. Light-sensitive pigments and internal rhythms help coordinate opening, scent, nectar production, and growth. These rhythms continue even under steady conditions for a while. They are guided by internal biological clocks, then adjusted each day by light and temperature. Trees, insects, birds, fungi, and mammals all follow cycles. Some rhythms last about 24 hours. Others follow seasons, tides, or lunar phases. The forest is not simply awake or asleep. It is a collection of overlapping schedules, each beginning and ending at a different time. Some creatures are settling now. Others are only starting to move. Some flowers are closing, while others are opening. The pond holds all these rhythms together without becoming hurried. Beyond the water, the path begins to rise again. The mist remains behind, floating low between the grasses. As you move beneath the trees, the calls of frogs become fainter. Soon, they blend with the wind and can no longer be separated from the rest of the night. The path rises away from the pond and enters a stand of tall conifers. Their narrow crowns meet high above, leaving only a few pale openings in the sky. Conifer forests often sound different from broadleaf forests. Needles break the wind into a softer hiss, while dry cones and small branches create faint movements on the ground. Pine needles can remain on a tree for several years. Each needle continues gathering light until it becomes old, damaged, or no longer efficient. Evergreen does not mean that nothing falls. Needles are shed gradually, so the tree remains green while constantly replacing part of its crown. The fallen needles create an acidic layer on the ground. This can influence which plants, fungi, and microorganisms are able to live beneath the trees. Some forest floors become open and quiet. Others support blueberries, ferns, mosses, and low shrubs adapted to the soil. A thick layer of needles can slow evaporation. It protects the surface from direct sun and helps moisture remain in the soil after rain. The same layer can also burn when conditions become dry. Conifer forests have long relationships with fire, though those relationships vary from place to place. Some species are damaged easily. Others survive because of thick bark, high branches, or cones that open after heat. Ponderosa pines often develop bark made of thick plates. The outer layers can protect the living tissues from low, frequent fires. These fires once moved to some forests at regular intervals. They reduced young undergrowth and left more space between mature trees. When fire is excluded for too long, dense vegetation can accumulate. Under dry and windy conditions, later fires may then become more intense. Forest management tries to understand these older patterns. In some regions, carefully planned burns are used to reduce fuel and support fire-adapted ecosystems. Fire is never simple. It can renew one habitat while destroying another, depending on timing, strength, and location. Tonight, the ground is damp. There is only the cool scent of resin and the faint touch of wind moving through needles. Resin protects injured conifers. When bark is damaged, the sticky material flows into the opening and can trap or discourage insects. It also contains chemical compounds that slow the growth of some microbes. Over time, resin may harden. Ancient resin sometimes becomes amber after being buried and transformed for millions of years. Amber can preserve small pieces of the past. Insects, pollen, feathers, and plant fragments have occasionally been found sealed inside it. These remains are not always perfectly preserved. Still, they offer rare glimpses of organisms too delicate to become ordinary fossils. A tiny insect trapped in resin may outlast entire forests. The tree that produced it disappears. The climate changes, and the resin remains beneath layers of sediment. There is something gentle in the idea of such a small moment lasting so long. A wing, a grain of pollen, or a fragment of leaf can become part of deep time. You can let that distant time remain far away. For now, the present forest is quiet enough. A cone rests beside the path. Its overlapping scales protect seeds while they develop. When conditions are suitable, the scales open and release them. Some cones respond to dryness, others need heat. The seeds often carry small wings that help them spin or glide. Wind takes them beyond the shadow of the parent tree. Most will never grow into mature trees. Some land on stone, some are eaten, and some fail because the soil is too dry or crowded. A small number find enough light and moisture. The first root emerges and grows downward. A young shoot moves upward, carrying the seed leaves toward the surface. This early stage is fragile. A seedling may be damaged by frost, drought, insects, or falling debris. Even a single footstep can end its growth. Yet forests produce many seeds because success does not depend on everyone surviving. The future forest begins through abundance and chance. Years later, a surviving seedling may stand above the low plants. Its trunk thickens slowly, and its roots explore a wider space. Young trees often grow quickly when light is available. Beneath a dense canopy, growth may become very slow. A sapling can remain small for years while waiting for an opening. When an older tree falls, sunlight reaches the ground. The quiet seedling may then begin growing much faster. These openings are called canopy gaps. They are important sources of change in mature forests. A gap warms the ground and alters humidity. Grasses, flowers, shrubs, and young trees may all respond. Insects arrive. Birds feed in the new vegetation. The fallen tree becomes habitat below, while light creates fresh growth above. One event reshapes several layers of the forest. Even so, the change happens gradually. Leaves unfold over weeks. Roots spread through seasons. The opening slowly closes as branches reach toward one another. There's no need to watch the whole process. The forest has time to finish it on its own. Ahead, the path enters a clearing created by an old fallen tree. Moonlight reaches the grasses, revealing pale seed heads and small white flowers. Openings often contain more plant species than deeply shaded ground. The mixture of light and shelter creates many small habitats close together. Some plants grow only where sunlight reaches the soil. Their seeds may remain dormant beneath the leaves for years. Light, warmth, or disturbed soil can trigger germination. A seed bank lies hidden in many forest soils. It contains living seeds produced during earlier seasons. Some remain viable for only a short time. Others can wait for decades. The ground holds possibilities that are invisible until conditions change. A storm, a fallen tree, or the movement of an animal can expose bare soil. Soon, plants that seemed absent may begin to appear. Wildflowers often take advantage of early spring light. In deciduous forests, they grow before the canopy becomes dense. For a few weeks, sunlight reaches the ground easily. Plants such as trilliums, violets, and woodland anemones complete much of their growth during this brief period. They flower, produce seeds, and store energy underground. By summer, many have faded while the trees above are fully leafed. Their absence is temporary. Bulbs, roots, and underground stems remain alive beneath the soil. The next spring, the cycle begins again. At night, many flowers close. Their petals protect pollen and reduce heat loss. Others stay open for moths, beetles, and small flies. The clearing becomes a meeting place between day and night. Some plants are finishing. Others are beginning. A faint scent comes from the low flowers. It is sweeter than pine resin and softer than wet soil. Floral scents are made from mixtures of many compounds. The exact blend can guide pollinators toward the correct species. A moth may recognize a flower from far away. Its antennae contain receptors sensitive to tiny amounts of scent. Male moths can also detect chemical signals released by females. These molecules may travel great distances when air conditions are calm. The antennae of some species are broad and feathery. Their large surface area helps collect more molecules from the air. The moth follows changes in concentration. It turns across the wind, corrects its direction, and gradually moves closer to the source. This search happens in darkness without a map. The air itself becomes the guide. Beetles use scent as well. Many forest insects locate food, mates, or suitable wood through chemical signals. Bark beetles can detect stressed trees. Some species release aggregation chemicals after reaching a suitable trunk. More beetles arrive and may overwhelm the tree's defenses. Healthy trees often resist with resin. Drought can weaken this protection. When water is scarce, a tree may produce less resin and become more vulnerable. Warmer conditions can also allow some insects to survive in larger numbers. Forest health depends on balances that can shift. Insects are natural parts of these systems, but outbreaks can alter large areas when climate or tree condition changes. Even after widespread tree death, life continues. Dead wood supports fungi, birds, and new vegetation. Open sunlight changes the ground. The forest that follows may not be the same, but it is still forest in transition. You can let the thought move gently past. Change does not need to be dramatic in this quiet place. Near the edge of the clearing, a fox steps briefly into the moonlight. Its movement is light and careful, almost silent against the grass. Foxes have excellent hearing. They can detect small animals moving beneath leaves, vegetation, and even snow. Their ears turn toward faint sounds. Once a location is judged, the fox may leap and land with its front paws close together. The familiar pounce is guided by hearing as much as sight. Red foxes can live in forests, fields, mountains, coasts, and cities. Their flexible diet helps them adapt. They eat rodents, insects, fruit, birds, and many other foods. A fox does not usually move through the forest without purpose. It follows routes shaped by scent, memory, and previous success. Regular paths may connect resting places, feeding areas, and sources of water. The same route can be used night after night. Other animals also create trails. Deer paths, badger tracks, and small tunnels beneath vegetation form an invisible network across the forest floor. Some trails last for generations. Animals follow the easiest ground, avoiding steep slopes, tangled growth, and unstable soil. Humans often notice only the clearest paths. Smaller routes remain hidden beneath grass and leaves. The forest has many roads that were never built. They appear through repeated movement. The fox pauses at the edge of the path. For a moment, its ears face forward, and its body becomes completely still. Then it turns and disappears between the trees. The clearing feels empty again, though it never truly was. A beetle moves beneath a leaf. A moth circles above the flowers. Roots continue taking in water below the soil. The moonlight continues falling, whether anything is visible or not. If your eyes have closed, you can leave them closed. There is nothing ahead that you need to see. The path now enters younger woodland. The trunks are thinner and closer together, and their branches begin lower to the ground. Young forests often develop after fire, farming, storms, or logging. At first, fast-growing plants occupy the open space. Grasses and shrubs may appear before trees become dominant. Sun-loving tree species grow quickly. Later, as shade increases, different species may begin to replace them. This gradual change is called ecological succession. It does not always follow one fixed path. Soil, climate, seeds, animals, and future disturbances all influence what develops. An abandoned field may slowly become shrubland. Young trees appear among the grasses. Decades later, a closed canopy forms. Older forests contain structures that take longer to develop. Large trunks, hollow trees, deep soil, and fallen logs accumulate over time. A young forest may contain many closely spaced trees. As they grow, competition for light, water, and nutrients becomes stronger. Some trees survive and expand. Others slow, weaken, and eventually die. This process creates space for the remaining trees. It also adds dead wood to the ground. The density of the forest gradually changes. A place that once seemed crowded may become open beneath taller crowns. Forest age is not measured only by the age of its oldest tree. It also appears in the arrangement of layers, the amount of dead wood, and the variety of living spaces. Old forests can contain young trees. Young forests can contain old trees left from an earlier landscape. Every forest is a mixture of times. The narrow trunks around the path are still reaching upward. Their leaves overlap, searching for spaces where moonlight once carried sunlight during the day. By morning, they will begin another cycle of photosynthesis. For now, their cells remain active at a quieter pace. Water continues moving through the wood. Sugars produced earlier are transported to growing tissues and roots. Repair continues inside damaged cells. Darkness is not an empty interval. It is another part of the tree's daily life. The path winds gently between the young trunks. Behind you, the clearing becomes hidden. Ahead, the forest grows darker again, but the air remains calm. Somewhere beyond the next rise, the land begins to slope toward an old valley. The trees continue with you, one quiet shape after another. The path crosses the rise and begins descending into an old, sheltered valley. The air becomes cooler here, and the sounds of the upper forest fade behind the slope. Valleys often collect cold air during the night. As the ground loses heat, denser air moves downhill and settles in lower places. This can create a temperature inversion. The valley floor may become colder than the hillsides above it, even though lower elevations are usually warmer during the day. Plants respond to these small differences. A species growing comfortably on the slope may struggle only a short distance below. Frost can form first in these low places. Cold pockets influence where young trees survive, when flowers open, and how long insects remain active. The shape of the land quietly organizes the forest. Ridges receive more wind. Hollows hold moisture. South-facing slopes receive more sunlight in the northern hemisphere, while north-facing slopes often stay cooler and damper. These differences create many small habitats within one woodland. A walk of only a few minutes can pass through several climates. The changes may be subtle, but the moss, soil, and trees reveal them over time. At the bottom of the valley, the path follows a dry channel. Water once moved here more strongly, leaving rounded stones beneath the leaves. Seasonal streams may disappear from the surface. During dry periods, water continues beneath gravel or returns only after heavy rain. The channel still shapes the forest. It carries seeds, branches, and soil during storms, then becomes quiet again. Many animals use dry stream beds as paths. The open ground is easier to cross than dense vegetation, and scents can remain between the stones. A badger, fox, or deer may follow the same route for years. The channel becomes a road, created by water and remembered by animals. Some stones are covered with a dark, thin layer. This may be a mixture of algae, fungi, bacteria, and mineral deposits. Even exposed rock can support life. Tiny organisms enter cracks where moisture remains longer and temperatures change more slowly. Over time, roots and lichens help break rock into smaller particles. Water freezes and expands inside cracks in cold climates. The stone weakens grain by grain. Soil begins through processes like these. Minerals from rock mix with decaying leaves, wood, fungi, and animal remains. A layer capable of supporting trees may take centuries to develop. Soil is not simply broken rock. It is a living system filled with air, water, roots, organisms, and organic material. A single teaspoon can contain vast numbers of bacteria. Many are harmless or helpful. They decompose material, transform nutrients, and interact with roots. Some bacteria convert nitrogen into forms plants can use. Nitrogen is essential for proteins and growth. Yet most plants cannot take it directly from the atmosphere. Certain bacteria perform this conversion in soil. Others live in close partnerships with plants, especially legumes. Small nodules form on the roots. Inside, Bacteria receive sugars while providing usable nitrogen to the plant. In forests, nitrogen also arrives through rain, decomposition, and animal waste. It moves from soil into roots, from roots into leaves, and eventually back to the ground. Too little nitrogen can limit growth. Too much can also disturb the balance of an ecosystem. Forest soils vary greatly in fertility. Some tropical forests grow above surprisingly nutrient-poor ground. Warmth and moisture cause rapid decomposition, and nutrients are quickly taken up by living plants. Much of the fertility is held in the forest itself, rather than stored deeply in the soil. When the vegetation is removed, heavy rain can wash nutrients away. The rich appearance of a rainforest can hide a fragile foundation. Temperate forest soils often develop more slowly. Fallen leaves may create a deep organic layer, especially where temperatures remain cool. Boreal soils can be acidic and low in nutrients. Conifer needles decompose slowly, and cold conditions reduce microbial activity. Each forest builds its own kind of ground. There is no need to hold all these differences in mind. You can let the soil remain dark, soft, and quietly alive beneath the path. A faint scratching sound comes from the leaves nearby. An armadillo might make such a sound in warmer forests, while a hedgehog might do so in parts of Europe or Asia. In this valley, it may be a small rodent searching for seeds. Nocturnal foraging often depends on memory. Animals. Remember where food was found, where shelter is close, and which routes felt safe. Some also remember when resources are likely to appear. Flowers produce nectar at particular times. Trees drop fruit during certain seasons. Insects emerge after rain or warm weather. A forest animal learns these rhythms through repeated experience. Squirrels can remember many buried food locations. They also use smell, landmarks, and changes in the ground to recover caches. Not every seed is found. Forgetting becomes part of seed dispersal. Other animals deliberately move food into storage. Wood mice gather seeds in underground chambers. Beavers store branches underwater near their lodges before winter. Pikas dry plants in sunny piles, though they live more often among rocks and mountain meadows than deep forest. Storing food is a way of carrying abundance into a leaner season. Trees do something similar inside their tissues. Sugars made during the growing season can be converted into starch and stored in roots, trunks, and branches. These reserves support new leaves in spring. They also help repair damage and survive periods when photosynthesis is limited. A tree in winter may appear inactive. Inside, it is conserving resources and maintaining living cells through cold months. Dormancy is not complete stillness. It is a carefully controlled reduction in growth. Temperature and day length help trees prepare for seasonal change. Buds form before winter. Protective scales surround the delicate tissues that will become leaves or flowers. Some buds contain tiny structures already arranged for the next spring. The future canopy waits in miniature through the coldest nights. When warmth returns, cells expand. Scales open, leaves unfold, and the branch becomes green again. The timing must be cautious. Opening too early can expose young tissue to frost. Opening too late can shorten the growing season. Trees combine several signals. Warm days, cold exposure, and increasing daylight all help determine when growth begins. Different species use different strategies. This is why one tree may leaf out while another nearby remains bare. Climate change can shift these timings. Warmer springs may cause earlier flowering or leaf growth. Animals that depend on those plants may not always shift at the same rate. A caterpillar may emerge before its usual food is ready. A migrating bird may arrive after the peak abundance of insects has passed. These mismatches can influence survival and reproduction. Nature's calendars are connected, but they are not controlled by one clock. Each species responds to its own set of signals. The forest remains resilient in many ways, though rapid changes can place pressure on older relationships. Tonight, the valley feels stable. The season has settled into its familiar pattern, and the darkness moves at an unhurried pace. A few leaves turn in the breeze. The sound travels down the channel, soft and dry. Some trees can recognize seasonal changes through the length of darkness. Plants contain light-sensitive molecules called phytochromes. These help them detect changes in the balance of light during day and night. The duration of uninterrupted darkness can be especially important. It influences flowering, dormancy, and growth in many species. Artificial light can disturb these signals. Trees beside bright roads may hold their leaves longer or open buds earlier than those in natural darkness. Nighttime lighting can also attract insects away from their usual habitats. Predators may gather around lamps. Changing patterns of feeding. Darkness is an environmental condition, just like temperature or rain. Many species evolved to depend on it. A forest night provides not only rest from sunlight, but a predictable period of low illumination. Hormones, behavior, and internal clocks all respond. Humans also follow daily rhythms influenced by light. Darkness encourages the body to produce melatonin, a hormone involved in preparing for sleep. Bright light at night can delay that process. Warm, dim light generally affects the body less strongly than bright blue-rich light. The forest contains little artificial brightness. Only moonlight and starlight reach between the branches. The natural night allows eyes, hormones, and attention to shift gradually toward rest. You can allow that same shift now. There is nothing more you need to focus on in this moment. Along the side of the channel, several ferns grow from a shaded bank. Their young leaves begin as tightly coiled structures called fiddleheads. As they grow, they slowly unroll. This pattern is known as circinate vernation. The delicate tip remains protected inside the coil while the leaf expands. Fern reproduction is also different from that of flowering plants. They produce spores rather than seeds. Small structures called sori often appear on the underside of mature fronds. When the spores are released, wind and water carry them away. Spore that reaches a suitable damp place may grow into a tiny, flat structure. This stage is called the gametophyte. It is separate from the familiar leafy fern. Water is usually needed for fertilization. Afterward, a new fern plant begins growing from the small gametophyte. The life cycle contains two distinct forms. One is large and easy to recognize. The other may be smaller than a fingernail and hidden close to the soil. Mosses also alternate between different stages. The green moss we notice most often is only one part of the cycle. Thin stalks may rise from it, each holding a capsule filled with spores. Rain can help release those spores. Some moss capsules have structures that respond to humidity, opening and closing as the air changes. This controls when spores escape. Dry conditions may allow them to travel farther on wind. Moist conditions may keep them close to suitable habitat. Even a tiny capsule follows the weather. Its movement is mechanical rather than conscious, but it is finely suited to the forest around it. Horsetails reproduce with spores as well. These ancient plants have jointed stems and have existed in related forms for hundreds of millions of years. Long ago, relatives of modern horsetails grew as large trees. They contributed to swamp forests that later became coal deposits. Coal contains energy captured by ancient plants through photosynthesis. Sunlight entered leaves, became chemical energy, and remained stored in buried plant material across geological time. When coal is burned, that ancient carbon returns to the atmosphere. The process connects modern industry with forests that vanished long before humans existed. The valley stones beneath the leaves may also carry traces of deep history. Sedimentary rock can contain grains from older mountains. A single mineral crystal may have survived erosion, rivers, burial, and uplift. The forest grows on a landscape made from earlier landscapes. Roots enter cracks formed before the species existed. Rain follows slopes shaped by vanished glaciers or ancient rivers. The present night rests on a very old foundation. Still, there is no need to travel that far backward. You can stay with the cool air and the soft ground beneath you. A pale slug moves across the fallen leaf. Its progress is slow, leaving a thin trail that reflects the moonlight. Slugs and snails produce mucus that helps them move over rough surfaces. The mucus reduces friction and protects the soft underside of the body. Some can cross surprisingly sharp material without injury. Their movement comes from waves of muscular contraction along the foot. The waves push against the mucus and carry the animal forward. Snails carry shells formed mainly from calcium carbonate. The shell grows with the animal. New material is added around the opening, creating wider curves over time. A forest snail may feed on fungi, algae, decaying plants, or living leaves. In turn, it becomes food for birds, beetles, frogs, and small mammals. Calcium from shells can return to the soil. In some forests, birds seek empty snail shells because calcium is needed for eggs. Even a small shell becomes part of a larger cycle. The slug reaches the edge of the leaf and disappears beneath it. Its movement was brief, but the forest contains countless journeys of similar scale. An ant crossing bark, a mite moving through moss, a larva tunneling inside wood. None needs to travel far to inhabit a complete world. If your thoughts are becoming distant, you can let them remain distant. The story will continue softly, without needing your attention. A dry channel bends toward a wall of exposed rock. Roots descend over its surface, following cracks filled with moisture and soil. Trees can grow from places that seem almost impossible. A seed settles in a narrow opening. Organic material gathers around it. The first root enters the crack and begins exploring. As the root thickens, it may widen the opening. Water and freezing temperatures continue the work. The rock breaks slowly, while the tree gains a stronger hold. Roots do not usually shatter solid stone through force alone. They take advantage of weaknesses already present and enlarge them over many years. The tree and rock change one another. The rock guides the roots. The roots help turn the rock towards soil. At the top of the wall, the canopy opens briefly. Several stars appear in the narrow strip of sky. They seem still, though earth is turning beneath them. The forest floor, the valley, and every sleeping animal are moving with the planet through space. Nothing here feels fast. The rotation is too steady to notice, and the stars remain quiet above the branches. The path follows the rock until the valley begins to widen. Cool air stays close to the ground. Behind you, the hidden pond and conifer clearing have become part of the darkness. Not ahead, older deciduous trees stand along the lower slope. Their wide crowns overlap, and the path leads gently beneath them. The older deciduous trees form a broad arch above the path. Their leaves overlap in many layers, and the valley air remains cool beneath them. Some of these trees may be connected through shared fungal partners. The connection does not create a single forest mind, but it can allow nutrients and chemical signals to move through soil networks. Young seedlings growing in deep shade may receive carbon through fungal pathways. The amount varies, and scientists continue studying how important these transfers are in natural forests. Nearby trees can also compete through the same underground space. Their roots seek water, minerals, and oxygen, while fungal partners exchange resources in ways that depend on local conditions. Cooperation and competition often exist together. A forest is not peaceful because nothing struggles. It feels peaceful because change happens slowly, quietly, and across long stretches of time. One tree may shade another for decades. A root may turn aside from dry soil and continue toward a wetter patch. A fungus may form a useful partnership with one plant while drawing resources from another. The relationships are complex, but they do not need to feel complicated tonight. You can let them remain beneath the ground, beyond the reach of sight. A large beech tree stands close to the trail. Its bark is smooth and pale, reflecting more moonlight than the rough trunks around it. Smooth bark sheds water differently from deeply ridged bark. Rain can travel down the trunk in a thin flow called stem flow. This water carries dust, nutrients, and tiny organic particles toward the roots. Different tree shapes create different patterns of stem flow. A smooth trunk may guide more water downward, while rough bark holds moisture in cracks and shallow pockets. Those damp places become habitats. Algae, lichens, mosses, insects, and microorganisms may all live on the surface of a single trunk. The bark can contain several climates at once. One side faces the wind, another remains shaded and damp. A sheltered hollow stays warmer, while an exposed ridge dries soon after rain. Even the north and south sides of a tree can support different communities. Sunlight, moisture, and temperature vary around the trunk over the course of each day. In some forests, moss appears more often on one side. This can offer a rough clue about local conditions, but it is not a reliable compass everywhere. Shade, slope, wind, and nearby water may be more important than direction alone. The forest rarely follows simple rules without exceptions. It changes from valley to ridge, from species to species, and from one season to the next. That uncertainty can be restful. There is no need to reduce the whole woodland to one clear explanation. A small cluster of mushrooms rises near the base of the beech. Their caps have opened after recent rain, revealing delicate gills beneath. The gills create a large surface area for producing spores. A single mushroom can release enormous numbers into the air. Spores are small enough to remain suspended in gentle currents. They may rise with warm air, drift between trunks, or settle only a few meters away. Some mushrooms can influence the air around them. Water evaporating from their surfaces cools the nearby air, which may create tiny currents that help lift spores. The movement is slight. Still, it shows that even a motionless mushroom can shape the space around it. Other fungi release spores through pores, teeth, cracks, or small openings. Puffballs hold spores inside a round body. A raindrop, animal step, or falling twig can compress the surface and send out a soft cloud. Birds' nest fungi look like tiny cups holding miniature eggs. Raindrops strike the cup and splash the spore-filled structures outward. Earth stars open their outer layers into pointed shapes. Their central spore sacs release dust when disturbed. Fungal forms can be as varied as flowers. Most remain hidden for much of the year, appearing only when moisture and temperature are suitable. A mushroom may last only a few days. The underground organism can continue long after the visible cap has disappeared. There is no need to notice every brief appearance. The forest remembers through networks that remain unseen. Farther down the slope, a low mound rises beneath the leaves. It may be an old ant nest, built and rebuilt across several seasons. Ant colonies can contain thousands of individuals. Each follows simple chemical and physical cues, yet the colony can produce organized trails, chambers, and shared work. Ants communicate mainly through chemicals called pheromones. A forager that finds food may leave a scented trail on the return journey. Other ants follow and strengthen the trail if the resource remains useful. When the food is gone, the scent fades. The path disappears without needing to be erased. Some forest ants build nests beneath logs or stones. Others create mounds from soil, needles, twigs, and plant fragments. These mounds can regulate temperature. Sun-warmed surfaces help heat the chambers, while tunnels allow air to move through the nest. The colony may carry young ants to warmer or cooler levels. Temperature affects their growth and activity. Ants also move seeds. Some woodland plants produce seeds with small fatty structures called elaiosomes. Ants carry the seeds back to their nests and eat the nutritious attachment. The seed itself is discarded in a protected place, often underground. This form of dispersal is called myrmecochory. It can move seeds away from parent plants and reduce the chance that they will be eaten by other animals. Violets, trilliums, and many other forest plants use this quiet partnership. A flower blooms in spring. Its seed is carried by an ant. Years later, another flower opens farther along the forest floor. Small movements can shape the distribution of entire plant communities. The forest is built from countless acts that seem insignificant on their own. An ant carries a seed. A jay forgets an acorn. A fox leaves fruit remains beside a trail. A spore settles into damp wood. Over time, these events become trees, roots, flowers, and soil. You can let the scale of it become soft and distant. There is no need to imagine every beginning. The path passes beneath a branch where several leaves have been partly eaten. The missing sections reveal the work of caterpillars, beetles, or other herbivores. Most trees lose some leaf tissue each year. Healthy trees can often replace the energy or adjust their growth without serious harm. Leaves contain defensive chemicals. Some taste bitter, interfere with digestion, or become toxic in large amounts. Plants may increase these defenses after damage. They can also toughen leaves or produce sticky substances. Herbivores evolve responses of their own. Some specialize in eating plants that other animals avoid. They may break down toxins, store them, or choose only younger and softer tissue. This creates long evolutionary relationships. As one side develops stronger defenses, the other may become better at overcoming them. The process can continue for millions of years. Plants are rooted in place, but they are not defenseless. Their strategies are chemical, structural, and timed. A leaf may be tender for only a short period. Later, it becomes tougher and less nutritious. Some plants grow quickly after damage. Others tolerate being eaten by spreading resources across many leaves and stems. Certain trees produce so many seeds that predators cannot consume them all. Others protect each seed inside a thick shell. There is no single solution. The forest survives through variety. A faint crack comes from above. A small branch has broken and fallen onto the leaf litter. The sound seems sudden, but the branch may have been weakening for months. Wind, fungi, insects, and repeated freezing can all contribute. Dead branches often remain attached until one final movement releases them. Their fall creates a brief opening. A shaft of moonlight reaches the ground, then disappears as the remaining leaves settle. By morning, the branch will become part of the forest floor. Fungi and insects will enter through the broken ends. Bark will loosen. Wood will soften. Years later, Little may remain except darker soil. The tree above will seal the wound where the branch was lost. New tissue grows around the damaged area, rather than replacing it exactly. Trees do not heal in the same way animals do. They compartmentalize injuries. Chemical and physical barriers help limit the spread of decay into healthy wood. The damaged section remains inside the growing trunk. Future rings form around it. Scar becomes part of the tree's structure. Storms, fires, insects, and falling branches can all leave such records. Some trees live long lives while carrying many old injuries. Their survival does not require perfection. They continue growing around what cannot be restored. You can let that idea rest quietly for a moment. The forest is full of lives that have adapted around earlier damage. A soft flutter passes between the trunks. A nightjar may be flying low above the ground in search of insects. Nightjars have wide mouths surrounded by small bristle-like feathers. Their patterned plumage helps them blend with bark and leaf litter during the day. At dusk, they become active. They capture moths and other insects in flight. Some species produce strange, repeated calls that seem to come from the darkness itself. Their names often imitate those sounds. Whip-poor-wills and chuck-wills. Widows were named for the phrases people heard in their calls. The rhythm can continue for long periods. One bird calls, pauses, and begins again. The sound becomes part of the night, rather than an interruption within it. Nightjars often lay eggs directly on the ground. There may be no built nest, only a sheltered place among leaves or stones. The eggs are colored to match the surroundings. The resting adult also remains difficult to see. Camouflage replaces walls and branches. The forest floor itself becomes a shelter. Nearby, a tawny frogmouth might use a different strategy in Australian woodland. It sits upright on a branch, stretches its body, and resembles broken wood. Though often mistaken for an owl, it belongs to another group of birds. It hunts insects and small animals during the night. Across different forests, unrelated animals can evolve similar habits. Darkness creates similar challenges. Finding food, avoiding danger, and moving without daylight can lead to comparable solutions. Large eyes appear in many nocturnal species. Sensitive ears appear in others. Camouflage, whiskers, scent, echoes, and careful timing all become ways of knowing the night. Evolution does not design these traits in advance. Small inherited differences accumulate when they help organisms survive and reproduce. Over many generations, the result can seem remarkably precise. The nightjar disappears beyond the trees. Its wings leave no lasting sound. If your attention is fading, you can let it fade completely. The forest does not need you to witness every movement. The valley floor becomes flatter now. A broad patch of nettles and low shrubs grows where more light reaches the ground. Nettles protect their leaves with hollow hairs. When touched, the tips break and release irritating chemicals into the skin. The sting discourages many animals from feeding. Still, some caterpillars specialize in eating nettles. They tolerate the defenses and use the plants as sheltered places to grow. Red admiral and peacock butterflies are among those whose larvae may feed on nettles. A plant that feels unwelcoming to humans can be essential to another species. Bramble thickets also appear in open forest spaces. Their arching stems carry thorns and produce flowers rich in nectar. Later, dark berries provide food for birds and mammals. The seeds pass through digestive systems and are left elsewhere. Dense brambles protect young trees from grazing animals. A thorny patch can become a nursery where seedlings grow beyond the reach of deer. Years later, the young trees may shade the brambles. The thicket declines as woodland closes above it. One stage creates conditions for the next. This is another quiet form of succession. Plants compete for light, yet they can also shelter the species that eventually replace them. The path curves around the thicket. A few berries remain on the stems, dark and soft in the moonlight. Their color is less visible now, but their scent still travels. A fox, badger, or mouse may find them before morning. Fruit contains water and sugars. It offers energy to animals while carrying the plant's seeds into motion. Some seeds germinate better after passing through an animal. Digestive acids weaken the outer coating, allowing water to enter more easily. Others simply survive the journey and reach new soil. The forest uses appetite as a means of travel. Sweetness encourages movement. Scent guides animals closer. Color becomes a daytime signal, while softness reveals ripeness through touch. Each fruit is temporary. It swells, ripens, falls, and disappears. The seed inside may remain dormant long after the flesh is gone. Some seeds wait through winter. Cold temperatures help break dormancy in a process called stratification. The delay prevents them from germinating during a warm spell before dangerous weather returns. Spring offers better chances. Moist soil, increasing light, and longer days support new growth. The seed does not predict the season. Its chemistry responds to the conditions it has evolved to expect. The same is true throughout the forest. Life responds to patterns repeated across generations. Rain follows drought. Light follows darkness. Warmth returns after cold. Not every year is predictable, but the larger rhythms provide a structure. Tonight belongs to one of those rhythms. The leaves have completed their work for the day. Nocturnal animals move through familiar routes. Moisture gathers in shaded places. The moon continues crossing the sky. There is nothing urgent in the valley. The path begins to climb once more, leaving the old channel and the thicket behind. Between the trees, the horizon has become slightly paler. Dawn is still far away, but the deepest part of the night is slowly passing. For now, the forest remains dark. The trunks continue upward, the roots continue downward, and you can continue resting between them. The path climbs toward a quieter ridge where the trees begin to thin. From here, the valley below becomes a dark, continuous shape beneath the night sky. Ridges experience the forest differently. Wind reaches them more easily. Soil is often shallower, and water drains away faster after rain. Trees growing here may be shorter or more widely spaced. Their roots spread through cracks in stone, holding where deep soil is unavailable. The wind shapes their crowns over many years. Branches on the exposed side may remain smaller, while growth continues more strongly in sheltered directions. This creates trees that seem to lean away from the weather. The form is not created in one storm. It develops gradually through thousands of small responses to pressure, damage, and light. Some mountain trees grow into shapes that look twisted or ancient. Their slow growth produces dense wood and narrow rings. Harsh conditions can extend life in surprising ways. A tree that grows very slowly may use fewer resources and experience less competition from surrounding plants. Bristlecone pines are famous examples. Some have survived for thousands of years in cold, dry mountain environments where little else grows easily. Their weathered trunks may contain both living and dead sections. One strip of bark continues carrying water while the rest of the wood remains exposed. This allows the tree to survive after much of its outer structure has been damaged. Age does not always look like size. Some of the oldest trees are not the tallest or widest. They persist by growing slowly, conserving resources, and enduring conditions that limit faster species. In a gentler forest, old age takes another form. Large trunks, hollow branches, broken crowns, and deep roots show the long history of storms and seasons. Very old trees create habitats that younger trees cannot yet provide. Deep cavities shelter animals. Loose bark hides insects. High dead branches offer perches. Fungi enter old wounds and create soft wood for nesting species. An ancient tree becomes more biologically complex as parts of it begin to decline. Life gathers around the changes. The tree remains alive while decay develops within it. Growth and decomposition continue side by side. There is no need to decide whether the tree is healthy or damaged. It can be both enduring and imperfect at once. The ridge wind moves through the highest branches. Their leaves turn and reveal paler undersides for a moment. Many leaves have different surfaces above and below. The upper side often contains more structures suited to gathering light. The underside may hold more stomata, protected from direct sun and rapid water loss. Fine hairs can also grow there. These hairs slow air movement across the surface and help reduce evaporation. Some reflect excess light. Others discourage small insects or hold droplets away from sensitive tissues. Leaf hairs are called trichomes. They come in many shapes, from soft fuzz to stiff hooks and sticky glands. A few plants use glandular hairs to trap insects. Sundews and butterworts grow in nutrient-poor soils where nitrogen is difficult to obtain. Their leaves capture small animals and release enzymes that break them down. Carnivorous plants still photosynthesize like other green plants. The insects provide nutrients rather than energy. Most grow in bogs, wetlands, or open acidic ground, not beneath dense forest canopy. Yet forest edges and clearings can create the wet, bright conditions they need. A tiny sundew may be easy to miss. Its leaves shine with sticky droplets that resemble dew. Even when the air is dry, an insect lands on the surface. The leaf may slowly bend around it as digestion begins. This movement happens through changes in growth and cell pressure. It is slow enough to remain almost invisible moment by moment. Plants can move in many ways without walking. Mimosa leaves fold after touch. Flowers track light. Vines circle supports. Roots turn toward moisture. Some movements occur in seconds. Others require hours, days, or entire seasons. The apparent stillness of the forest depends on the speed at which we observe it. A time-lapse would reveal leaves opening, stems leaning, and fungal caps rising from soil. Over longer periods, trunks thicken and branches rearrange the canopy. The forest is always in motion. It simply moves with patience. You can let your own thoughts slow toward that pace. Nothing needs to happen quickly here. Soft wing beat passes along the ridge. An owl lands on a branch, hidden except for a slight shift in the silhouette. Owls can perch with little effort because of the arrangement of their toes and tendons. When the toes close around a branch, the grip can remain secure without constant muscular force. Many perching birds use a similar mechanism. As the leg bends, tendons tighten and curl the toes around the branch. This allows birds to sleep without falling. Balance still matters, but the grip becomes partly automatic. Bird feet vary according to how they live. Woodpeckers have toes arranged to support climbing on vertical trunks. Raptors have strong talons for holding prey. Waterbirds may have webbed feet for swimming, or long toes for walking across mud and floating vegetation. Form reflects repeated use across generations. The owl's feet are hidden now. Only the round shape of its body can be sensed against the darker leaves. Its feathers trap warm air. A bird maintains a body temperature higher than that of most mammals. This requires a steady supply of energy. During cold nights, Birds may shiver to generate heat. Some huddle together. Others choose sheltered cavities or dense evergreen branches. Small birds face the greatest challenge. Their bodies have more surface area relative to volume, so heat escapes quickly. They must balance the need for rest with the need to preserve energy. Seeds and insects gathered during the day become warmth during the night. Fat stored in the body is used gradually until morning. Some birds gain weight before winter nights. They may carry only enough extra energy to survive until feeding begins again. Too much weight can make flight less efficient and increase vulnerability. The balance is delicate. Animals solve such balances in different ways. Larger mammals retain heat more easily. Some grow thicker winter coats. Others reduce activity, enter torpor, or hibernate for long periods. Hibernation is more complex than deep sleep. Body temperature falls, heart rate slows, and metabolism drops dramatically. Animals may still wake occasionally. Bears are often described as hibernators, though their body temperature does not fall as much as that of smaller mammals. Bats, ground squirrels, and dormice can enter deeper states. A hibernating animal survives on stored energy. Its body must carefully manage fat, water, and waste across weeks or months. Preparation begins long before winter. Food intake increases. Shelters are chosen. Body chemistry changes in response to season and temperature. Some insects also survive winter in inactive states. Butterflies may overwinter as eggs, caterpillars, pupae, or adults, depending on the species. Certain frogs tolerate partial freezing. Ice forms in spaces outside their cells, while protective chemicals reduce damage within tissues. Their hearts may stop for a time. When warmth returns, circulation begins again. This ability has limits, but it allows survival through conditions that would kill many animals. Trees also protect cells against cold. Sugars and other compounds help lower the freezing point and stabilize cell structures. Water is moved away from sensitive areas. Growth pauses and buds remain sealed. Winter survival is not passive. It is prepared through many coordinated changes. Tonight the forest is far from freezing. Still, every living thing carries adaptations shaped by earlier cold seasons. The warm months include preparations for the cold ones. Seeds ripen. Fat is stored. Wood hardens. Protective scales form around buds. The future is quietly included in the present. There is no need to think ahead though. For now, the night air is gentle and the ridge remains calm. The owl turns its head toward a sound below. Its facial disc helps direct sound toward the ears. The rounded arrangement of feathers acts somewhat like a collecting surface. Small changes in feather position can influence how sound is received. The owl listens without moving the rest of its body. A rustle comes from the leaves near the base of a tree. It may be a vole passing through a shallow tunnel. Voles create runways through grass and leaf litter. These paths connect feeding places with burrows and sheltered nests. In winter, some remain active beneath snow. The layer between the ground and snow can stay warmer than the air above. This hidden space is called the subnivean zone. Snow contains trapped air that provides insulation. Small mammals move through tunnels where they are protected from wind and extreme cold. Plants, seeds, and bark remain available beneath the surface. Predators may listen from above. Owls and foxes can detect movement through the snow and strike downward. Even a frozen landscape contains active spaces. The forest does not become completely still in winter. Activity simply shifts into bark, soil, water, and sheltered layers. Some insects remain inside wood. Fungi continue slowly beneath snow. Roots maintain living tissues below the frost line. Streams may move beneath ice. Every season has its hidden motion. The rustling below stops. The owl waits a little longer, then leaves the branch without a sound. Its wings pass between the trunks and vanish over the valley. No chase follows. The night returns to its previous calm. A cluster of stars appears above the ridge where the canopy opens. One of them seems brighter than the others, though the brightness may come from a planet. Planets usually shine with steadier light than stars, because they appear as tiny disks rather than single points. Atmospheric turbulence makes starlight flicker more strongly. Through the branches, both can seem to tremble. The light has crossed enormous distances before reaching the forest. Starlight may have traveled for years, centuries, or far longer. Moonlight takes only a little more than a second to reach Earth. Sunlight takes several minutes. The forest receives all of it quietly. Leaves absorb sunlight by day. Water reflects moonlight by night. Animal eyes collect faint photons between the trees. Light connects the forest with distant space, even when the ground feels enclosed. The carbon inside trunks also has an ancient origin. Carbon atoms were formed through processes in earlier generations of stars before becoming part of Earth. The same is true for many elements in soil, leaves, and living bodies. The forest is local in shape but cosmic in material. Its roots belong to the slope. Its atoms belong to a much older universe. That thought can drift away without needing to become large. The path remains beneath your feet, and the air remains cool against the leaves. Near the ridge, a dead tree stands with its upper branches broken. Its exposed surface is pale under the stars. Dead trees continue participating in the forest. Woodpeckers search for larvae beneath loose bark. Bats roost inside cracks. Beetles tunnel through softened wood. Fungi release enzymes that break down cellulose and lignin. The structure slowly weakens. Pieces fall and return to the ground. Nitrogen, phosphorus, calcium, and other nutrients become available again. Some are taken up by nearby roots. Others move with water into lower soil. A standing dead tree can remain upright for many years. Its rate of decay depends on species, climate, insects, fungi, and moisture. Dry wood may persist longer. Warm, damp conditions often accelerate decomposition. When the trunk finally falls, it changes the forest floor. It creates a raised surface, stores water, and provides shelter beneath its edges. Seedlings may grow along its length. Years later, a line of young trees can reveal where the old trunk once lay. The original wood may be gone. Its shape remains visible through the lives that followed. Forests preserve history through patterns like these. A hollow, a mound, a line of trees, or an opening in the canopy can mark an event long past. Not every record is written inside a ring. Some are written across the landscape. There is no need to read them tonight. The ridge can keep its memories in the dark. The path turns away from the exposed slope and enters a sheltered grove. The wind becomes weaker almost immediately. Large trunks stand close together, and the ground is covered with deep, dry leaves. A soft warmth remains here, held by the canopy and the shape of the land. Sheltered groves can create refuges during extreme weather. During heat, shade reduces temperature. During cold, trees and terrain limit wind. During drought, deep litter helps conserve soil moisture. These stable places may allow sensitive species to survive while surrounding conditions become difficult. Ecologists sometimes call such areas micro-refugia. They are small environments where climate differs enough to offer protection. A north-facing hollow, a shaded ravine, or a spring-fed slope may remain cooler than the broader region. Species can persist there for long periods. As climate shifts, these small refuges may become especially important. They cannot protect every organism. Still, they show how much variation can exist inside one landscape. The forest is not exposed evenly to change. Its folds, slopes, streams, and canopies create places of shelter. A moth rests beneath a leaf. A salamander remains under a log. A young tree grows beside a spring. Each depends on a slightly different version of the same forest. The grove holds these small differences quietly. Your breathing can become just as quiet now. The path continues through the leaves with almost no sound. Ahead, the land levels out beneath a stand of broad old trees. Their branches form a dark ceiling overhead. The night is well advanced, but dawn has not yet reached them. For a little longer, the forest remains entirely itself beneath the stars. The old trees stand quietly together as the final hours of night begin to soften. Their branches no longer seem like separate shapes. They have become one dark canopy resting above the sleeping ground. The forest is still active, though its movements are harder to notice now. Roots continue drawing water through the soil. Fungi continue spreading through wood, and small animals continue following paths hidden beneath the leaves. Nothing has truly stopped. The night has simply carried each living thing into a quieter part of its rhythm. Somewhere in the distance, an owl gives one final call. The sound crosses the trees, becomes faint, and then disappears into the valley. No answer is needed. The silence that follows feels complete on its own. Above the canopy, the stars are beginning to fade. They have not changed, but the sky around them is slowly becoming brighter. Long before sunrise reaches the forest floor, the upper atmosphere begins scattering the first light. The darkness turns from black to deep blue. Then, very gradually, the blue becomes softer. Birds can notice these changes before human eyes easily can. Their internal clocks are sensitive to light, temperature, and the familiar timing of the season. One bird may begin with a quiet note. Another answers from farther away. The dawn chorus does not begin everywhere at once. Different species start singing at different levels of light. Those with larger eyes may become active earlier, while others wait until shapes are easier to see. The first calls are often simple. They rise between the trunks, pause, and begin again. Soon, the forest will sound different from the one we entered. Night insects will grow quieter. Bats will return to their roosts. Flowers that open after sunset will begin to close. Other petals will prepare for sunlight and daytime pollinators. The transition is gentle. There is no clear moment when night ends and morning begins. One slowly becomes the other. Mist remains low above the ground. Dew rests on moss, grass, and the fine edges of spiderwebs. A few droplets fall from leaves. Though no rain is falling, they return moisture to the soil. Some will be absorbed by roots. Some will evaporate after sunrise. Some will remain inside the shaded forest for much of the day. The water continues its cycle without needing to hurry. It rises, gathers, falls, flows, and returns. The same water may pass through clouds, streams, leaves, animals, and deep soil across many years. Nothing here belongs to only one moment. A leaf is part of the tree, then part of the ground. A fallen trunk becomes shelter, soil, and new growth. A seed becomes a root, a sapling, and perhaps one day another old tree beneath the night sky. The forest is made from these gradual changes. Life does not remain still. yet it rarely needs to rush. Even the tallest tree began with a small opening in a seed. Even the deepest soil formed one thin layer at a time. Even this long night has passed through the forest, minute by minute. There's nothing more you need to follow now. The facts can become softer and less distinct. You do not need to remember the animals, the roots, the stars, or the hidden water beneath the ground. They can all continue without your attention. The forest will keep breathing in its own quiet way. Leaves will open again in the morning light. Birds will move between branches. Insects will return to flowers, and shadows will shift across the path. By evening, the light will fade once more. The first stars will appear above the canopy. Cool air will settle in the valleys, and the creatures of darkness will begin another familiar journey. The forest will not need to be reminded. Its rhythms are older than any single night. For now, the path has become too faint to follow. It disappears gently beneath the trees, covered by shadow and fallen leaves. There is no destination waiting beyond it. There is nowhere else you need to go. You can remain here in the quiet. The old trees can stand around you. The moss can hold the last cool moisture of the night. The sky can brighten slowly beyond the branches. Everything is calm enough to continue on its own. Your thoughts can become as distant as the owl's final call. They can pass between the trees and fade without needing an answer. Your breathing can remain easy. Your body can feel heavier, warmer, and more settled. The forest does not ask you to stay awake. It does not ask you to understand anything more. There is only the soft ground, the sheltered air, and the gentle beginning of morning far above. The night can keep moving quietly in the background. The trees can keep growing beyond your awareness. The stars can fade and the dawn can arrive without being watched. There is nothing more you need to follow. There is nothing more you need to hold. The forest can remain peaceful around you, and you can simply sleep